Hey, welcome to another episode of Clear Light Connections, where we talk to the people behind the businesses of Bay Area Houston, proudly sponsored by UTMB Health. Hey, today's special guest is Philip Golden. You are the Executive Director of Bay Area Habitat for Humanity's Houston.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell the audience a little about what you do. I was fortunate enough to attend an event you guys did, and I learned a lot more, and so I kind of want to dive into some of the specifics. But overall, tell us about Habitat for Humanity.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to come out here, and also the Chamber for putting on this podcast. So Habitat for Humanity is a well-known brand. A lot of people talk about Jimmy Carter and think that maybe he founded the organization, but he's actually one of our biggest ambassadors. And our primary goal is to provide affordable housing for deserving families.
And I learned something at the breakfast that made me even appreciate the program a lot more. It's you guys don't just give a house to somebody. Talk about the process of how somebody gets chosen, to how they participate in the process, and then kind of the end product.
I'm glad you listened at the breakfast, because that is true. A lot of people will say, hey, I thought that I hit the lottery and was just given a home. Actually, we sell the homes to our homeowners. And there's kind of a qualification process that's there, an application process. And the homeowners need to fit three criteria primary. One, they have to have a need for housing. So a lot of time our homeowners are living in apartments, or maybe renting a room at another family member's house, or living in not the best circumstances. Mm-hmm. The second one is that they have to meet our income requirements. And Habitat International has established those. And they're so based on the size of your family and the amount of income that you have coming in. And it's based on the average median income for our geographic service area. And the third thing is that they have to have a willingness to partner with Bay Area Habitat for Humanity. And as you may know, that's a willingness to actually volunteer and to work on other houses, or to spend some sweat equity hours to help, instead of doing a down payment, that's what they would do, is to have that available.
Yeah, and I love that sweat equity component. And when the speaker was talking about how when you put that in, it means so much more. Talk a little about kind of the clientele and how willing they are to put this in, and the reward they get out of that.
Yeah, we had one of our volunteers, Steve Reagan, who spoke at our breakfast, and I think he hit it spot on, saying that, he liked how the homeowner had skin in the game, mm-hmm. that they were actually working on either their own home or a home of a predecessor family, and got to see all the work that went into building a Habitat home. We try to keep our construction costs down as much as possible, and to do that, you need to use as much volunteer labor as possible. We're fortunate to have kind of a core base of volunteers. A lot of them were former NASA engineers, or people that have been associated with schools or school districts that help us with the home. But we'd also like to have the homeowners and their family and their friends and their church groups come to the homes and help us build the house that they will ultimately live in.
Now, one thing I've noticed is that corporations like partnering with you and doing like team building and helping build these houses, right? I mean, they like to come and talk a little about that process and what's involved if a business out there decides, hey, this is a great way for my organization to give back. What would that look like?
Yeah, a lot of Habitat for Humanity affiliates, which we're one of about 60 within the state of Texas, do rely a lot on the large companies or large corporations. Fortunately, here in the Bay Area, we have a lot of chemical, petrochemical, heavy industry organizations that are here. And what they like to do is to sponsor financially a home, and in turn for that financial sponsorship, send out a work crew and commit to work on either a Saturday or 3 Thursdays in a row to help build a house. And it's just really an incredible scene to have people that get an opportunity to work, if you're in the accounting department, with the safety guys, mm-hmm. or the people that are back office or front office, to all come together to serve the mission of providing affordable housing, and to get them out there holding nail guns and climbing up on ladders, installing siding, and so forth. It's also an opportunity for those companies to give maybe a new or up-and-coming employee an opportunity to lead the team build, to say, okay, I'm in charge of this. This is the equipment and supplies that we want to bring to provide some hospitality for our builders and to take ownership of the project. So we like that.
And what kind of experience does somebody need to volunteer?
You don't have to have any experience.
You're going to teach them everything they need to know.
We'll try to fit whatever they could have. Now, there are some age requirements as to what Habitat allows you to do. Unfortunately, we have some junior high groups or a church group that comes. They have to be at least 16 years old.
Okay.
And they have to be 18 years old to be on a construction site when there's power tools that are involved. Thankfully, we have a construction project manager and some of these folks that have built 50 or 60 houses that can step the group through all the activities, provide a safety moment, teach them how to use the tools properly. And then there's times that there's some projects like painting that even your son could do or my son could do, no matter what kind of age, or to lay sod at a home. So we'll look for any type of folks to volunteer.
So, and we kind of hit on the process about the future homeowner puts in the time, but then at the end of it, you guys also are the mortgage provider.
That's correct.
Talk to me a little bit about that, because you guys do it kind of all in its full circle. And again, we already talked about it's not giving a home to somebody; it's giving them an affordable way to get a home.
That's correct. Yeah. So the neat thing, and that I wasn't really appreciative of, is that, say, we were founded in 1991, and our first house was built in 1992. And during those 30 plus years of existence, we built over 170 houses. And as you can imagine, some of those people entered into mortgages for 20 years or 30 years. And you're correct. We serve as their bank or their mortgage company. So they're actually making their mortgage payments to Bay Area Habitat for Humanity. And we use those funds for our operational costs and to allow us to build additional homes. So right now I have a mortgage portfolio of about 104 notes. It's worth several $1 million of people that are making.
It's a great
their
model.
payments.
It's more sustain. It sounds like a very sustainable model.
It is, and we do need to service those. I have a small office here. Thankfully, Habitat Texas, which is based outside of Austin, helps us with the servicing of the mortgages, where people can make their payments just like any other homeowner. There's, of course, kind of an educational component. A lot of the clients that we work with are first-time home buyers. And you might have remembered back when you were in your early 20s, early 30s, had a lot of trepidation as to, I need to buy a first house. How do I do that? How do I save enough money? What's it like? The first cool thing that we do is that we don't ask for a down payment. In lieu of the down payment, we ask them to do the sweat equity hours. The other thing that we do, imagine this, a 0% interest, no profit loan that's provided to the homeowners. So they're not paying any interest towards their house, which provides significant cost saving for those folks.
Yeah, for anybody that's had a mortgage, you realize the first 10, 15 years, you're paying more in interest than you are in principal. So these loans turn over faster, I would take it, because of that.
That's right. Now, they are continuing to pay an escrow because they're still responsible for their property taxes and for their property insurance. But we just build that into their monthly mortgage payments.
But the mortgage is designed to help refuel the organization. It's not a profit enterprise.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other thing that we do is that we, in theory, we sell the house at what it costs us to build the house. So every house that we've built, and we've built some houses recently in LaPorte and in Texas City, we get a fair market value appraisal done of the home. So if the house appraises at $250,000, it's not likely that the homeowner is going to be able to pay that amount for the entire house. So what we'll do is set up the mortgage based on our QLO, our qualified loan originator. We'll review all of their financial documentations. What are their income sources? Do they get child support? Do they have Social Security? Do they have other sources of income, what their credit looks like, and say, okay, this house, we can actually sell it to them at $150,000. So while the house costs $250,000 to build, there's that spread of $100,000 that Bay Area Habitat says, we will forgive that amount of the loan over the life of the mortgage.
Okay.
So it's a significant savings for the homeowner to have that happen too. And I've been fortunate to have been on the receiving end of some of those phone calls that they say, hey, what is my payoff amount? I'm real close to finishing my last payment on my Habitat home.
That's awesome.
It's cause for celebration, and we gather that up, and they want to burn the mortgage or the promissory note that they've signed, and then they also remember that this couldn't have happened without the support of the community.
And let's talk about that community support, because I know you guys are a nonprofit and you rely also on donations, and I'm guessing inflation has hit all nonprofits hard. But it's a double-edged sword for you guys because building materials has seen an incredible rise in costs, right?
Yeah, all the Habitat affiliates in the state and throughout the United States, and we're also international, have felt the scourge of the inflation, that our wood prices, our shingle prices, our sheetrock prices and stuff have just gone sky high. And so it has been difficult. So we do need to do or take steps to raise funds to build a house. Right now, we're able to construct a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in the cities that we serve for roughly $150,000. That's what our out-of-pocket costs are to build that home. No surprise, the more volunteers we use, we have an ability to lower the cost of the home. If you're going to use more contractors, there are additional expenses that are related to that. And we can talk about what subcontractors we use on the home. I've lost my train of thought now.
No. You talked about, there is the need for subs, right? I mean, you can't, obviously you have a general contractor that you employ, but they have to get subs to come in and do some of the, I would imagine, more specialty
that's correct.
work.
All the electrical.
Yeah.
Plumbing and HVAC, mechanical work is all done by subcontractors.
Yeah.
But for us to build the house, we do need to have sufficient funds to purchase those rising increase of lumber and to pour the foundation and so forth. So we do a couple things. One is we use those mortgage payments that our homeowners are making on a monthly basis, and that being pulled together helps us to pay for homes. We also hold a variety of special events throughout the year, like a lot of other nonprofits. We partner with the companies who often will sponsor either in full or half or thirds towards that cost of the home. So you could imagine a large corporate employer along the ship channel that said, we'd like to sponsor a house for $150,000 to make it happen.
Yeah.
And we'd like to repeat that process each year. We'd like to have our work crews come out, meet the homeowners, attend your groundbreaking ceremonies, your home dedication ceremonies, and be involved and give back to the community.
Well, and it's a win-win, right? I mean, giving back to the community, employees love doing that. They don't always get the opportunity, but it sounds like it's a unique way for you to partner and provide them that opportunity, and you're the beneficiary of some good old sweat and labor.
Right. I mean, so often it's easy to write a check and say, here's my contribution that I'd like to give to this nonprofit. Imagine being able to work hand in hand with the eventual recipient of that homeowner and to hear them offer words of thanks and admiration to people who are just volunteering their time on a Saturday from 8 to noon or 8 to 4 to build a Habitat home. It's really remarkable, and it's one of the neat things that I get to experience when I'm on the job site as the ED for Habitat for Humanity.
And so you've gotten to be on the build side. Talk about some of your success stories on the homeowner side, and what are some of the special stories that you have that really resonate?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question. One homeowner, I'll just use her first name, Ebony. I had a chance to meet her, and she was working as a custodian at a local school. She has 3 daughters, was actually living in her sister's house. They had 1 bedroom that all 3 of them were there. And she had never lived in a house before in her life. She shared with me that when she was a small girl, her parents had been divorced when she was really young. Her mom was kind of an itinerant, was living from either house to house, not as bad as going couch surfing, but trying to go from apartment complex to apartment complex, always responding to increasing apartment rent. Where am I going to live next? And I remember one time taking her through her house. And I was just showing her around and say, here's where 1 bedroom, your daughter could be here. This is the master bedroom. Your master bedroom has a stand-up shower. The 2 girls will share another shower down the hallway. And she stopped me one time, Jameson, and asked me, well, what's the string coming down out of the ceiling? And I paused for a little bit, and I was like, well, what is she? Oh, it was the attic door. She had never seen an attic door. At first I thought maybe she's just kind of trolling me a little bit or, pulling my leg. I said, well, let me show you, Ebony. And took out, pulled it down, took out my flashlight, on my iPhone, and had her walk up the attic stairs and say, look at all this space, all your Christmas decorations, all that kind of stuff. But let your girls carry all that stuff upstairs or find someone. You don't need to be climbing up these stairs, Miss Brooks. But this is what it was. And it was just kind of a remarkable thing. And I'm convinced, though, that her kids will be set up for that generational impact, that since now their mom is a homeowner, that they're going to strive to be a homeowner too.
Well, let's dive into that a little deeper. So what makes the mission of Habitat so important? Why is homeownership so important?
Several reasons. One, people that are engaged in a community become active in the community. It's much easier to be a Little League baseball coach, to vote in city elections, to become a concerned citizen when you're grounded to a particular neighborhood or grounded to a particular city. I've been fortunate to have a couple of mayors come out from the city of LaPorte or Texas City, and I always tell them, hey, you have a new voter that's going to be living in our house and will be also a taxpayer because they're going to be paying property taxes when before you just had an empty lot. People that are in a stable living environment also have stronger relationships with their physicians and with their schools. Education outcomes are improved for their children because they're no longer being switched from school to school or from district to district.
That one's critical, I think, when you start talking about generational changes. That one is critical right there.
Yeah, and then they get to be involved and be their homeroom mom, or be involved in the PTA or PTO for the particular school, just to get enmeshed with what's happening in their community. And it's so important for that to occur.
Yeah.
And it's something that happens when you have a stable home environment.
So, Philip, you've made the case for why it's so important. How do people get involved? Tell them what types of help your organization needs and how to reach you.
Yeah, well, one way to do that is to go to our website, bahfh.org, and we have there a drop-down menu for volunteer activities. We're always looking for people that want to either volunteer individually or with a church group, and we'll capture your information. You can also call our offices. It's on our website too, and reach out to our volunteer coordinator. We need people from time to time to help with administrative and clerical work. And probably my biggest source of volunteers are the ones that, as an executive director, is my board members. I mean, those are the nearest and dearest. And I'm blessed to have a board of 22 individuals that cover our entire geographic area, and they've been involved in providing strategic oversight and governance of the organization and to help us with those big ideas as to what we need to do to further our mission.
Because you guys do a unique thing from what I remember is you collect and fundraise the money and then you build, right?
That's correct.
Which is important because if not, and something happens, it's not quite as sustainable.
I mean, we're like a lot of other businesses in that you have to figure out what is going to be your cash flow throughout the year. So we may not necessarily wait until we have every dollar in hand, but if we know that we're going to have a commitment for that type of funding that will come throughout the year, we're able to go ahead and take those steps. You know, I've been here for roughly 3 years, and I've been able to see 10 houses being built. This year, we're likely to do 2, and I hope to be in a position where we're building 4 houses each year. And that means we need to raise about $600,000 to get that accomplished.
Okay. So that's another big need is the money.
Big need.
So
that's correct.
Monetary donations. Anything else you want to tell the audience before we part?
You know, sometimes people ask, well, where do y'all build, or what is your geographic service area? I keep referring back that there are other Habitat for Humanity affiliates within the state of Texas. In Houston, there's probably about 6 or 7. Won't necessarily talk about my peers too much, but our geographic service area for Bay Area is rather large. It goes as far north as LaPorte, all the way down to Galveston Island, and from the Pearland, Friendswood, Alvin area, all the way east to Galveston Bay and Trinity Bay. And so we've had a lot of home construction in the city of LaPorte and Dickinson and Alvin and Texas City. We're about to do some work in Lamarck also. And we have 1 home in Galveston. So it is a big geographic service area. We hope to be able to continue to have success what we've had in our current home building efforts, to just continue to expand because the need is so critical and so huge.
Yeah, and you really hit on all those reasons why home ownership is so important and why the mission of what your organization is doing is so important. So thank you for coming on, Philip. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, too.